Hello, Brubs. We're back with a not so recent estate sale find. It's a genealogical photo pile, whatever you want to call it. Trying to find out if I have search across your channel. See if there's anything about Iowa in here. Purchase photos of Sigourney, Iowa inhabitants. I do have let's see where I bought these. Let me turn on my video and see where I purchased these. Hello, Brobs. I picked up some photos basically for free at an estate sale. They seem to be, what's this say, Sigourney? They seem to be centered around Sigourney and... All right, so I don't think I cataloged where I purchased them from, but as you can see in the photo, they are centered around Iowa, which is not an interest for me, but prosperity is, what's it say? Prosperity is here. Oh, I see. This is the one. Prosperity is here. Newton, Iowa. For you, something service. Efficient service all the time. At all times. Start a savings account now. Does that say Clark National Bank? Let me see if I can find anything about Clark National Bank, which is really irrelevant to what I'm looking at. Clark National Bank, Newton, Iowa. Past and present of Jasper County, Iowa, 1912. Newton's Bank, the L.D. Clark Banking House. Anyway, here's these photos, and the main participant in this photo collection is Helen J. Liechti, who was a graduate of Sigourney High School in Iowa in 1924. And the main reason why I got these, obviously, they're a stack of old photos, but as you can see, I think this is her. That's her, bruv. And these are apparently some of her classmates. As you can see, there was mold on them. I had to cut half of them away. And I also pulled apart a bunch of, as you can see, there's mold. And I had to put them on my sun porch out there for about 6 months before bringing them back in. They were sitting in a basement when I purchased them. And we will get to the story soon, but these are obviously her classmates from 1924 in Iowa, which is the least exciting part of this story. I will get to the point here quickly. This is the girl's father, George. And where do I think? This is her after high school. Her again. In most of the pictures, she looks pretty forlorn. This is her and her brother, I believe. That one, she looks happy. Grandma Helen and brother Al. So let's see if I can find her and her suspected husband. Nope, this is the family still. Where's the picture of her and the suspected husband? Oh, right, this is the one. I suspect this is the husband right here, who was named Virgil. And Virgil didn't live very long after this. And I'm not sure who that is. That could be her sister, who's also pictured in another photo. But Virgil, he was indicted in 1930 This is about 5 years after this picture, for rum running in Trenton, Michigan. And he mysteriously died in a plane crash, which for 1930, I'm pretty sure flying in planes wasn't exactly a everyday occurrence. So there's Virgil Thurman. He's listed in a case which involved the Trenton chief of police, also in this rum running scheme. Ex-police chief forfeits bond. Dickinson fails to appear in Trenton rum conspiracy hearing. Examination of Everett Noah and Harry Beauregard, former Trenton policeman. Oh, the other two guys were Trenton policemen. All right. Was to proceed today before Frank Q. Quinn, United States Commissioner, following the completion Tuesday of the examination of John Blackjack Gorsuch, the only other defendant in the government's Trenton conspiracy case, to appear for a hearing before the commissioner. Harry E. Dickinson, former Trenton chief of police, and Ralph Thurman, alleged rum runner. This could be Ralph right here. I'm not sure. Does not say who they are, and I don't really want to handle this photo too much since it's about to fall apart, but it would make sense that's his brother. Ralph Thurman, alleged rum runner, failed to appear for examination on a charge of conspiracy to violate the federal prohibition and customs laws when the cases were called. Virgil Thurman, brother of Ralph, and the sixth man involved in the case, was killed recently in a plane crash. So that's him, I believe. Let me see if there's other photos. I know there was other photos of Helen with a guy who looks like her boyfriend. These ain't it. These ain't it. And this might be him. Does he look like a rum runner? Kind of looks like a poet. I think that one's just blurry by nature. Here is Helen again. At least I believe it's Helen. Several of these photos, though, she looks very unhappy. Here she is, looking dapper. I believe it's her. Not sure the make of the car, but is this him? I think this may be him. Kind of looks like an evil dude, honestly. It just looks like some Russian supervillain. This could be them too, but he does. It says something on the back, but as I said, all these photos basically came from pages that were left in moisture in a basement, and so they're molded. You could probably scrape that off and see what it says. But I'll assume this is Helen and her husband looking like a gangster there. I mean, that's kind of a gangster car too, isn't it? Where's the other photos of Helen? Is this Helen? Yeah, I think that's Helen and their daughter. Nice ride. There he is right there, under the sign in Newton. So he must have been from Iowa as well. Going to assume that's him. There is Helen. Helen J. Liechti, who became Helen Thurman. What are we doing? We're looking at old photos, which I finally looked at today, that I purchased that in the estate sale probably 6 months ago. And I finally did a search on this guy right here. I believe this is him. And it turns out he was killed in a plane crash in 1930, and he was also, during that time, indicted in a rum running prohibition case by the federal government. I believe that's him, but I'm not sure. This is his widow. And I assume that's the baby she had with this guy. Grandma Helen Thurman, sister Georgia House. I think the name's spelled wrong. Georgia. Yeah, it is interesting. Well, I never looked into him until today because I kept looking at her photos and I'm just like, this lady looks awful miserable. In half the photos, she looks very unthrilled about being there. Is this her? I'm not sure who that is. As I said, a lot of these photos are water damaged. I believe that's him. Her husband. You're 8 years old and you're on YouTube? Thanks, buddy. Not sure who these people are. Or these people, since it doesn't really say who they are. I assume they're all from the same family. Focus, focus. That's as focused as it's getting. Yeah, I don't really know who they are either, but I found out that the husband of this lady who's featured was dead, killed in a plane crash. And I believe he was the guy killed in the plane crash right here. And he was a rum runner, which was a legal booze running scheme. Let's see who else we have here. Is this Helen? I don't know. Can't tell. This looks like Helen for sure. Of course, if I get the glare from the light off there. Not sure where this takes place, but can assume this is him, I believe. The guy who died, where's he at? Max? He looks like a gangster, but I guess everyone dressed like that back in the day. Yeah, I'd say this is 1920s. Late 1920s. I believe this is him. I just want to find out where this place is. This is going to be Helen again. Looking rather unhappy again. Who's this? What's he got hanging on him? Looks like an apparition following him. The heck is that on his leg? Or is he carrying something? No, he's not carrying anything. It's like a double exposure or something. What's he got in his hand? Oh, what's this? I believe that's their child, whoever the child may be. Picture of two women. What are these? Looks like a bunch of mobsters. No clue what that is since it's all... There's Helen again. No, someone on a boat. Of course, the guy has to start cutting his lawn across the street. Guess it is that time of year. Who else do we got here? I don't know. Doesn't really look like Helen. Could be her, though. This, I believe, is her dead husband. Again. Can't read it because of that. This is probably Helen again, looking forlorn. Great hairdo, though. Fashionable 1920s dress. Helen again, looking unhappy. Nice picture. I'd have to know something about cars to know what that is about. This, I'm going to say, is Helen and her sister Georgia. Maybe. What's it say on the back? Nothing. There's someone's butt in the air while they're working on something. Bzz, bzz. There's a weed whacker. These are later pictures, obviously. Not sure what this is. And there's a bunch of kids' handwriting on there, so that doesn't tell us anything. Looks like kids on the side of a schoolhouse. Man, at least there's Helen. I think that's Helen. Let's check and see if it's Helen. Doesn't say. Nice looking woman. There's a baby. Terry Smith, Alfie's oldest daughter. I don't know who Alfie is. Who's this kid? Of course, I don't think I... Is that Helen? Patty's oldest girl, Linda, and me. Linda was about 21 here. I wonder if these were from what's-her-name's collection. There's a boat. Guy's butt again. Who's this? Where these took place, nobody shall know. Old truck out in the snow somewhere. No one knows. No one knows because it's looks like a snowman in the background. Again, early 20s. This looks later, probably 40s. Same kids, just a bigger photo. Does not say who they are. Doesn't matter. Don't know. This is probably Helen and Virgil's child. I assume it is. Do believe that's Helen right there on the right. I believe that's Virgil, but can't read what it says. Yeah, maybe that's not Virgil. Someone in that family. What's this say? What does that say there? Something Ma. 1923. Why do these people all have to have fancy writing? Does it say Virgil? Can't read it. Something Ma right there, though. Maybe that does say Virgil and Ma. Like I said, I don't know why they had to write so fancy back then. I can't read what this says. Something River. That, I believe, is Virgil. Virgil Thurman, but like I said, I can't read what this says. What does that say? That I would assume is at school. Could be wrong. Kids. Not gonna worry about the kids because you can never identify kids unless you know who they are. That looks like Helen on this side. Could be her sister with her. Don't know. Assume that's Helen. The hell is this? I believe that's her husband, Virgil. If I remember correctly, that's her brother. That's Helen, and there's Virgil. Maybe that isn't Helen. That looks like Helen. Virgil, of course, was a suspected indicted for rum running in Trenton, Michigan, but died untimely. Who the heck's this? March 30, 1934, age 2.5, weight 32 pounds. Yeah, who is he? Cute kid. Assume that's Helen on the right. She always seems to be on the, well, that's our right, but her left. Her third left. Baby with looks like to be getting attacked by some kind of ectoplasm. Another baby photo. Baby chilling in the chair. See what these photos are. Is that Helen? Might be middle-aged Helen. Does that say? Sigourney, Iowa. See if it says Helen on here. Does it say something, or is that just the mold? Just mold. I believe this is Helen. A weathered photo of Helen, which actually looks pretty nice. Kind of looks better, doesn't it? It's got that patina, buddy. Who is this? Not sure who this guy is. That, again, looks like the same lady. Presumably Helen. Baby. Baby. More baby kids. What we got here? Where's that from? Coldwater, Michigan. Betty Page. This may be Ma. Hey, Ma. Kind of looks like her, but older. It could be Betty Thurman's mother. Not Betty, but Helen. Hard to know. More kids. Said unless you know the people. Does it say? Don't know. Hopefully one of these is identified. Nothing. We got two more to go, and then we'll get back to the rum case here. See if I can get... Oh, there she is. That must be Betty. Back in her days in Iowa. Or not. Why do I keep calling her Betty? Helen. Maybe that's Georgia. Let's pull out that original photo of Helen. Yeah, Helen. Where are you, Helen? I believe that's Helen. Where's the photo of Helen and her sister? Too confusing. Don't matter anyway. Georgia would be her name. Oh, maybe this is them, the married couple. No, doesn't look like that. Looks way later. This looks like the 1940s, 30s, 40s. Sigourney, Iowa. That looks like that guy we saw earlier. Maybe that's Georgia. Her sister. All right, back to the newspaper articles. Let's get them up here. Harry Dickinson, former Trenton chief of police, and Ralph Thurman, alleged rum runner, failed to appear for examination on a charge of conspiracy to violate the federal prohibition and customs laws when the cases were called. Virgil Thurman, brother of Ralph, and the sixth man involved in the case, was killed recently in an airplane crash. Bonds of $2,500 posted in each of the Dickinson and Ralph Thurman cases were forfeited Tuesday by Mr. Quinn on recommendation of Fred R. Walker, assistant district attorney. The missing men are believed to have gone to Mexico, and if they have, they cannot be returned. The charge against them not being an extraditable offense. Oh, really? Did not know that. Walker said, if they still are in the country, they can be brought back on indictments that will be asked in the cases, he explained. Whether Gorsuch will be held for trial will be determined within a few days by the commissioner. The assistant district attorney during the examination of Gorsuch brought out that the government charges that on October 18th, 1929, Coast Guardsmen on the Detroit River seized the speedboat, 195 cases of beer, and 65 cases of whiskey. A short time later, other Coast Guardsmen pursued another speedboat that did not show its lights and fired on it as it had escaped. Later, it is charged Chief Dickinson and Gorsuch made complaint at the Coast Guard base at Trenton that they had been fired on by members of a careless patrol while seeking a missing boy. Walker said federal agents had learned that Dickinson and Gorsuch had taken rum runners off the abandoned speedboat, and then upon checking the police report on the missing boy, found that a Lincoln Park man had reported to Dickinson that he had lost a boat on that day. The 6 men arrested in the case pleaded not guilty when first arraigned last May. It is charged that Dickinson and his 2 patrolmen assisted rum runners in importing liquor at various times between May 1st, 1929 and last May 1st. Yeah, because that's the reason why Prohibition didn't work, was because the local police were delivering and aiding in the Prohibition. Ex-police chief forfeits bond. All right, let's look at these photos while I download this. Let's see if I can download it. No, select clip. Sure you want to see this. Oh no, come on. There we go. I don't want to do this because I have to get rid of the search function. Search page. Virgil Thurman. Enter nothing. All right. Let's clip. All right, I'll download this. Download PDF. Download. Then we shall look for these guys. See if I can find the Thurman brothers. First, I want to find Virgil. Died in a plane crash. Where did he die at? Did it say? Doesn't really say where he died, does it? I guess I can look him up on Seeking Michigan. Get off here. Where did he die? He died in 1930. Dickinson, Ralph Thurman. Virgil Thurman died recently. When's this? July 30th. When did he die in a plane crash? Where? Alright, I'll try. Fucker. Virgil Thurman. There it is, the plane crash. That doesn't sound suspicious, does it? That he was indicted in May. and was killed on the 30th. See if we can't find anything about this first. Fuck you. You fucking piece of shit. Now I have no fucking internet? Why? Why? $1930. Come on. Connect, you piece of garbage. Alright, so this thing's just gonna fuck me. Great. Six are arrested in liquor raids. See if we can't get this going. Showing PDF, fucker. Print. That way I can see it in PDF form. Six arrested. Let's check this out. Raids were made Friday night in Ecorse, Gibraltar, and Wyandotte. Let's go to 150. Raids were made Friday night in Ecorse, Gibraltar, and Wyandotte by federal dry agents. 5 men were arrested at Gibraltar in a house at Wright Avenue and Adams Drive, where a quantity of beer and whiskey is said to have been found. They gave their names as Fred King, Virgil Thurman, Jack Keith, Bert Dingman of Gibraltar, and James Landeros of Adrian. A 500-gallon still and 20,000 gallons of mash were found at 12777 7th Street, Wyandotte, with no arrests were made. Another raid was on a room in the rear of 4451 West Jefferson Avenue, Ecorse, where some whiskey and a case of vermouth were reported to have been found. George Dowd was arrested. Okay, control. Save that as a clip. And I have the date on there so we can go away. Goodbye. All right, so he's definitely a rum runner. That was January when he was caught and arrested. May 11th, 1930. I hope I marked down where the fuck I found these photos. I can trace them back to that person. You gonna show it or just gonna fucking sit here and twirl? Woman on a bridge. And huge guess what they are. Or is that Georgia? Spelled wrong. Georgia house sister. Nice fur coat. Nice hat right there too. Or stocking, whatever you call that. Police chief held for trial in Trenton rum case. So he literally died 8 days after this. Let's read this first if it ever shows up. Doesn't seem like it wants to. Virgil is a rather nice gravestone for a common guy. 28-year-old guy. He was taken back to Washington, so these are his parents. Elizabeth Catherine Glanz Thurman. He's got a lot of brothers and sisters. Police chief held on trial in Trenton rum case. Bond fixed at $2,500 in U.S. court. Conspired to assist runners, say agents. 3 others held, 8 being sought. Investigation of 6 months leads to charge. Harry E. Dickinson, chief of police at Trenton, charged with conspiring with downriver bootleggers to facilitate the passage of Canadian liquor and beer across the Detroit River, stood mute Saturday when arraigned before U.S. Commissioner J. Stanley Hurd. He provided bond of $2,500 pending examination May 24th. Similarly charged with Dickinson are 3 alleged rum runners: Ralph Thurman, Virgil Thurman, brother of Ralph, and Blackjack Gorsuch. They also stood mute and provided bonds in the same amount. 2 charges pressed. While the conspiracy is alleged to have been in existence since the beginning of 1928, the warrant makes 2 specific charges. One relates to October 18, 1929, when the defendants are said to have caused the importation of 65 cases of whiskey and 90 cases of beer were imported under the care of the accused men, the warrant charges. There is no specific charge that Dickinson received any bribes, but the warrant declares that since 1928, liquor confiscated by police has been handled in an irregular manner, and that trucks seized by police from bootleggers have found their way back to the same bootleggers. It also charged that rum runners have been brought into court and charged as disorderly persons with the result that they were released after paying small fines. Special agents have been investigating the case for the last 6 months. What's his name? Thurman. Thurman won. All right, page 3, column 4. Page 3, column 4. See if I can go back to that. Page 3, column 4. Page 3, column 4. Don't know how you get to the next page. All right, page 3, column 4. Go. One, two, three, four. I don't see it. Same page 3 then. It is page 3. Column 4. 1, 2. No, this is column 4. This is not column 4. Page 3, column 4. I don't see it. All right, maybe it's the next page. It's page 4, column 3. I don't see it. Go to page 2. There it is. It's on the wrong page. It's on page frickin' 2. The riverfront so that the landing of liquor was not interfered with. 8 made arrests plans. 8 mode arrests planned. 8 other arrests are still to be made. Fitzgerald announced, but he declined to say whether any other police officers are involved. Dickinson was called to the office of the Special Prohibition Agent Saturday and shown the warrant against him. Being in full uniform, he was allowed to go alone to the United States Marshal's office, where he was fingerprinted and his gun taken from him. Arraigned later in Heard's court, Dickinson appeared to feel his position keenly. He was placed in the prisoner's box, where he removed his hat and placed it where it could not be seen. He also opened his coat and folded it back so that the brass buttons could not be seen. Dickinson was made chief of police at Trenton October 26, 1927. He is a former serviceman and was a member of the Highland Park Police Department 7 years. On October 18th, 1929, the date mentioned in the first charge, a boat in which Dickinson was a passenger was fired on by 5 Coast Guardsmen who had just seized a lugger loaded with 300 cases of beer and 200 cases of liquor, and were chasing the crew of the lugger, who escaped in a speedboat. Dickinson's boat was mistaken for the runners. Although 20 shots were fired, no one was hit. Dickinson explained he was coming up the river to Trenton after searching for a duck hunter who was reported missing. Right. All right, so there's the chief of police indicted. Virgil Thomas is indicted on the 11th along with the chief. And then 8 days later, or 5 days later, he dies in a plane crash. Suspicious? I mean, most people didn't fly in the 1930s, did they? Especially not people who were charged with rum running. See what it says. When autos crash. Nope, here it is. Investigate fatal crash. Open to print. We shall see it. Honor for Curtis urged in the House. Federal and state officers Monday will begin an investigation of the airplane crash that resulted in the death of Roy Allen, pilot, and Virgil Thurman at Adrian Friday. Allen was formerly manager of an airport at Jackson. Ray Collins, state aviation director and a Department of Commerce inspector, will jointly conduct the investigation. All right, so we got that. Control. All right, we got the screenshot of that. Let's see. May 12th. Oh, that was the day after, wasn't it? I didn't get that one. But 4 days after this. And there's May 17th. May 12th. Trenton chief is suspended. Trenton chief is suspended. Download this bastard Thurman 3. Mayor Teifer to fill post until Dickinson's case is disposed of. Suspension of Harry Dickinson, chief of police of Trenton, who is charged with conspiracy to facilitate smuggling liquor across the Detroit River, was announced Sunday by William F. Teifer, mayor of that town. Mr. Teifer said that he will be acting chief of police in addition to mayor At a special meeting of the Trenton City Council Saturday night, it was voted unanimously to suspend Dickinson without pay and without prejudice until his case before United States Commissioner J. Stanley Hurd is settled. Dickinson has left Trenton to go to his parents' home in St. Louis, Michigan. His wife, however, is remaining home. A flood of applications for Dickinson's place have poured into his office, Mayor Teifer said. Many, he added, are from retired Detroit policemen, discharged Michigan State patrolmen, former members of the Coast Guard, and other federal employees. The position pays $2,600 annually. Mayor Teifer reiterated his confidence in Dickinson, saying that he seemed to live within his salary and had in the past convinced him of his honesty. When arraigned Saturday with 3 alleged rum runners before Commissioner Hurd, Dickinson stood mute. He provided bond of $2,500 pending examination May 24th. The trio charged with Dickinson is composed of Ralph Thurman and Virgil Thurman, brothers, and Blackjack Goris, I think it's Gorsuch. They also stood mute and provided bonds of a like amount. 2 specific charges were made against the men in a conspiracy which is alleged to have been in existence since the start of 1928. Smuggling liquor across the river is alleged in both. It is charged that the rum runners have been taken into court on charges of disorderly conduct, with the result that they were released after paying small fines. Black Jack Gorsuch. That was his first name. All right, where's May 17th? Have I looked at this one yet? I'm gonna find out. I really need to eat. I'm starving. Come on, buddy. Sky traffic. Complete crash quiz. Investigation into the air accident last Saturday when 2 men were killed at Adrian has been completed by the Department of Commerce and the State Aviation Commission. Findings have been forwarded to Washington by R.D. Bettinger, local supervising inspector. It is against the department rule to announce the cause, so blame for the tragedy will not be published. Well, that's interesting. Pilot Allen and Virgil Thurman, passenger, were killed. Same thing, huh? All right, well, I guess we go back to searching for Thurman. On the 21st. Adrian Daily News Telegram. All right, that's what we want to. Detroit Free Press. Virgil Thurman. Let's do it. Nothing on Virgil Thurman. What the fuck? print the same damn story twice? Maybe I didn't get the 17th story then. Maybe they're the same. 1930. Virgil Thurman out on bond, pending U.S. rum hearing. Interesting. Prospective buyer goes to death with pilot in place of salesman. 2 are killed in plane toast. Adrian, Michigan, May 16th. A prospective purchaser of an airplane who traded the salesman the use of his automobile for a seat in a cockpit was killed in a crash late today, and his pilot was fatally injured. So this Virgil Thurman was going to buy a plane. I mean, I don't know how much a plane cost back then, but couldn't have been cheap. The passenger was Virgil Thurman, 30 years old, of Trenton, Michigan, and the pilot was Ray Allen, 32 years old, of Adrian. Allen died in a hospital here a short time after he was taken from the wreckage of the plane 2 miles northeast of the city. Motor trouble apparently caused the crash. Witnesses said that Allen went into a tailspin at a considerable height, straightened his plane out, and then went into another spin. The craft nosed down in the edge of a small woods, adjacent to a sloping field in which Allen apparently had intended to land. The motor had been shut off, and the wrecked plane did not catch fire. J.C. Handley, operator of an airport here and agent for airplane sales, told of the circumstances leading up to the tragedy. Allen worked with Handley, taking up passengers and prospective buyers. The two went to Trenton today and called on Thurman. Handley said, on the way, some motor trouble developed, but they thought this had been eliminated by repairmen at Trenton. Thurman, who had gone to the airport in his automobile, asked to be taken to Adrian in the 2-seater plane. Handley said, turning his car over to Handley to take Mrs. Thurman to Adrian and meet him there. News of the crash reached the Thurman home before Mrs. Thurman and Handley started their journey. Allen came to Adrian about 4 weeks ago from Jackson, Michigan, where his father, Walter C. Allen, lives. He was an experienced pilot and formerly was manager of the Benton Harbor Airport. Handley formerly was a patrolman at Jackson and a deputy sheriff here. Wait, did Hanley die too? I don't think so. Virgil Thurman out on bond pending U.S. rum hearing. That's crazy. So there's back-to-back stories. I mean, no one connected the two. Virgil Thurman commanded attention 1 week ago when he was arraigned before United States Commissioner J. Hanley Hurd on the charge of conspiracy to violate the Federal Prohibition Act. He was held in $2,500 bonds pending further examination. May 24th, arraigned. With him were Harry E. Dickinson, Chief of Police of Trenton, a brother, Ralph Thurman, and Blackjack Gorsuch. Gorsuch. I keep saying Gorsuch. All right, let's look up Gorsuch. Gorsuch. Trenton, Michigan. I guess we don't know his name. Really strange stories here. The man had been mentioned in connection with the activities of rum runners on Lake Erie. Trenton police said Friday night Thurman, who lived in Gibraltar, is survived by his widow and a daughter, 1-year-old. Mrs. Thurman said that J.C. Handley of Adrian, owner of the plane, and Mrs. Handley had flown to the Grosse Ile airport Friday morning. The two families had known each other for some time, Mrs. Thurman said, and the Handleys had visited in the Thurman home during the day. Mr. Handley suggested that Mr. Thurman fly back to Adrian with Alan while he would drive Alan's automobile. Mrs. Thurman explained the Handleys still were at home when news of the accident arrived. Thurman had 8 brothers, blah, 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 all of Iowa, and 2 sisters. His mother, Mrs. Elizabeth Thurman of North English, he also survives. Weird. All right, I'm going to stop now just because.